When most people hear the words Dark Ages, they imagine a Europe of crumbling castles, plague, and endless wars. And to a degree, that picture fits. But while Europe struggled to recover from the fall of Rome, vast civilizations across Asia were building glittering capitals, pioneering new technologies, and driving the global economy. This is the story of two worlds on very different paths. The year 476 CE marked the formal end of the Western Roman Empire, but the collapse was gradual rather than sudden. When the last emperor was deposed, the vast network that once linked Britain to the Mediterranean broke apart. Roads crumbled, armies disbanded, and the Roman bureaucracy disappeared. Without a central authority, Europe splintered into a patchwork of small kingdoms and tribal territories. In France, the Franks rose to power. The Ostrogoths ruled parts of Italy, and Visigoths held Spain. Political power rested with local warlords and petty kings who relied more on personal loyalty than written laws. Trade withered as Roman routes became unsafe. Merchants abandoned long-distance commerce, coins grew scarce, and most people turned inward. Villages produced only what they needed to survive, creating the self-sufficient manorial system where peasants worked a noble's land in exchange for protection. Daily life was harsh and uncertain. Once thriving cities shrank, aqueducts and baths fell into ruin, and literacy declined outside of monasteries. Monks preserved ancient texts, but most Europeans could neither read nor write. Viking raids from the north and Magyar attacks from the east made security a constant concern. With no strong central army, communities depended on local lords, laying the groundwork for the feudal hierarchy of peasants, knights, and nobles. Religion filled the vacuum of empire. The Catholic Church became the one unifying institution, providing spiritual guidance, education, and a semblance of order. For most people, life revolved around the village church, the fields, and the demands of their lord, a world of hard labor and fragile stability. While Europe struggled to rebuild after Rome's collapse, Asia entered some of its most brilliant centuries, a period of economic power, scientific innovation, and dazzling cities that rivaled anything the ancient world had ever seen. In the East, the Tang Dynasty forged one of history's greatest empires. Its capital, Chang'an, became the largest city on Earth, home to more than 1 million people and buzzing with markets filled with goods from Persia, India, and beyond. Tang poets like Li Bai and Du Fu set literary standards still celebrated today, while engineers advanced woodblock printing and experimented with the first formulas for gunpowder. The Song dynasty carried this momentum forward. Song rulers introduced paper money, perfected the magnetic compass, and encouraged commercial expansion that turned China into a global trade powerhouse. Advances in shipbuilding, irrigation, and metallurgy supported a thriving urban middle class at a time when much of Europe remained rural and self-sufficient. To the west, the Islamic world stretched from Spain to Central Asia. The Abbasid Caliphate, with its glittering capital of Baghdad, oversaw a true golden age of learning. The famed House of Wisdom attracted scholars who translated Greek and Persian texts, invented algebra, refined medical practices, and charted the stars with sophisticated astronomical instruments. While many European libraries held only a few thousand manuscripts, Baghdad's collections numbered in the hundreds of thousands, preserving and expanding knowledge that would later filter back to Europe. Farther south, the Chola dynasty in India commanded a maritime empire that dominated Indian Ocean trade. Chola merchants and navies carried spices, textiles, and ideas to East Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. In Cambodia, the Khmer Empire raised the vast temple complex of Angkor Wat, an architectural masterpiece unmatched in Europe for centuries. Across the region, advanced irrigation systems supported large populations and thriving markets. From the deserts of Arabia to the rice paddies of the Yangtze, these societies were not isolated. They were linked by the Silk Road and vast maritime networks. Luxury goods, scientific ideas, and religious traditions moved across thousands of miles, weaving Asia into the beating heart of the medieval world. By the later Middle Ages, the distance between Europe and Asia wasn't just about wealth or technology. It was about momentum. Asian empires drove global trade and innovation, but their breakthroughs didn't stay contained. Step by step, those ideas began moving west. Along the Silk Road, merchants carried more than silk and spices. Paper traveled from China through the Islamic world to Europe, where it revolutionized record-keeping and, eventually, printing. Gunpowder, first used in Chinese fireworks, found new life in European cannons. The magnetic compass guided Asian sailors long before it steered European explorers across the Atlantic. Numbers themselves became a bridge. Indian mathematicians developed the concept of zero and the decimal system, refined by Arab scholars into the Arabic numerals that replaced clumsy Roman numbers. Algebra, chemistry, and medical knowledge all crossed borders through Muslim Spain and Mediterranean trade hubs. These exchanges slowly shifted Europe's trajectory. By the 12th and 13th centuries, universities emerged, cities grew, and trade revived. Crusaders returning from the Middle East brought back not only goods, but also new tastes, technologies, and books that challenged old assumptions. What began as scattered contacts laid the groundwork for the Renaissance and eventually Europe's age of exploration. And yet, change was never a one-way street. European wool and silver made their way east, Christian missionaries reached the Mongol court, and travelers like Marco Polo returned with vivid accounts of lands few Europeans had imagined. Each journey, whether of goods, people, or knowledge, blurred the boundaries between East and West, weaving a single, if uneven, story across the continent. The so-called Dark Ages, then, were not a sealed chapter of isolation. They were a period of slow connection, where Asia's brilliance lit a path that Europe would follow and eventually build upon, in its own rise to global power. If you enjoyed this journey through two very different medieval worlds, consider liking the video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing for more deep dives into the hidden currents of history.